Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us on today's webinar, Mastering the Customer Education Journey from Awareness to Advocacy. My name is Alexa. I'm the Events and Webinar Coordinator here at Brandon Hall Group, and I will be kicking things off for us today. Let's start with some introductions. Our presenters today are Ken Joseph, Principal Analyst here at Brandon Hall Group, and Nick Eriksen, Chief Technology Officer at Eurekos. Nick Eriksen is the Chief Technology Officer and co-founder of Eurekos. He has designed online experiences and solutions for customer education, partner training, in the entire extended enterprise. I would like to extend a thank you to Eurekos for sponsoring today's webinar. Eurekos is a purpose-built LMS that rapidly onboards and continuously engages customers and partners. It includes an integrated suite of tools for certification, e-commerce, branded portals, mobile learning, and rapid content. This makes it easy to deliver product training that retains more customers and transforms partners into advocates. For those of you that aren't familiar with Brandon Hall Group is a research and analyst firm that empowers excellence in organizations around the world through our research and tools. A quick mention that we currently have several certification programs open for enrollment, including our Certified Learning Strategist program. Visit certification.brandonhall.com to learn more about how to earn that designation. Your participation in our surveys is one of the most crucial components for our research. So if you have a few minutes to spare and see any topics that you can take a survey for, it's greatly appreciated. Links will be available in your handout, or you can always visit brandonhall.com. All participants receive a piece of complimentary research once the results have been analyzed. And finally, a few logistics. To ask questions, we ask that you please use the questions panel on your control bar. Today's presentation is being recorded. We will share a link to the recording and a PDF of the presentation via email in roughly 24 hours. If you'd like to download a copy of today's presentation instantly, the link to do so will be available in the chat momentarily. The chat is also open for today, so we invite you to join in on today's discussion and share your thoughts as we go through. Or just simply pop in, say hello, and let us know where you're joining from today. And without further delay, I'll pass things over to you, Ken.
Thank you very much, Alexa, and thank you all for joining us. And a special welcome to today's co-presenter, Nick Eriksen of Eurekos, who is graciously joining us in the evening, in his evening time. He's 6 hours ahead of us on the East Coast. Today, we're going to be focusing on customer education or customer training, which is a subset of extended enterprise learning. So why don't we start with the definition? When we talk about extended enterprise learning, what we're talking about is learning created for and delivered by an organization to people outside of that organization. So it's training for audiences that are external to an organization. Today, we're going to be focused on the largest single segment of extended enterprise learning, customer training. And as you can see in our Brandon Hall Group Extended Enterprise Learning Survey from November of 2022, our respondents cited that they were 65% of the companies that we surveyed said that they were providing learning to their customers. So that is by far and away the largest part of extended enterprise learning. So why is customer training the largest subset of extended enterprise learning? Well, one reason is because, as you see here, improving customer experience has risen to become the second most urgent business priority for 2023, right behind retaining top talent and ahead of driving innovation. So given the high priority that businesses place on the customer experience, it's not surprising that customer-directed learning has emerged as a dominant part of extended enterprise learning. When we dig a little deeper and ask companies what they saw as the return on their customer education programs, the value really comes into focus. 65% say it improves their customer relations. 57% cited increased awareness of products and services. 45% said it maximized their client retention. 36% mentioned increased sales, and 34% said it drove additional revenue generation, and 29% mentioned reduced client support interactions. These are not trivial benefits. And in a few minutes, Nick is going to take us through a detailed look at how to think about the customer lifecycle and the customer educational journey in a way that clarifies what should happen in each phase to maximize impact and effectiveness so that companies can both realize and measure the benefits that we've shown here. So when we ask companies who already provide customer learning programs to rate how effective they were, 65% of the companies found customer training to be effective or highly effective. Actually, 18% said our customer program is highly effective. 35% found it to be less effective or not at all effective. So 2/3 of you all think you're doing a pretty good job at it. But today's session is all about how to take customer training to the next level of effectiveness. Before I hand it off to Nick to tell us more, let's do one quick poll question. So if you could all to take just a moment, and what we're asking is, what type of customer training does your organization provide? Customer onboarding, ongoing and advanced, and you see the other choices there, pre-sales, all of the above or none of the above. So please check off an answer. Select one, please. And in just a moment, we'll see what the results are. And I think another couple seconds, and then Alexa, if you wouldn't mind showing us the results. Okay, well, so all of the above came in first at 59%. Pre-sales only was 5%. Ongoing and advanced only was 14%. Customer onboarding came in at 23%. So some are doing everything, and some are doing only certain phases. So let's close that and move on. Nick, let me just ask you, do those results surprise you at all?
Well, not really. When we are seeing the pre-sales, we are looking at a very low engagement on that one, which is probably one of the most overlooked factors in this area. But I'm happy to see that there was no one saying none. I'm assuming that the rest of participants are not doing this or are starting up. So probably that was the most surprising thing, that nobody said none.
Oh, okay.
But that's good news.
Yeah, good news. Yeah. So you mentioned earlier when we were in discussions about putting this webinar together that the customer education cycle is really based on the customer life cycle. So why don't we start there and move? Hang on. There we go.
Yeah. So I would actually like to demystify this a little bit. The customer education journey that we are looking at is very, very close related to the customer life cycle as a whole. And I mean, if you don't connect these two, you're making your first mistake already. So it also helps you simplify things a little bit. This is not an academy project. This is a cross-functional project. That means that we are dealing with your customers, we're dealing with your partners, your trainer, your resellers, your whole chain. So depending on what kind of company it is, then you should look at the customer life cycle, because this is the one that would enable you to identify those different parts, which is why we ask those questions about pre-sales and onboarding and so on. So when we are looking at this, then we are looking at integration into campaigns from marketing. We are looking into different stakeholders. We're looking into like I have listed here, the professional service organization and so on. So one of the challenges that exist here is how you want to anchor this. Who has ownership? Because this is a different group than you are traditionally used to, and the deficits is that for example, the content production that you will need to do here actually resides with multiple different parties inside your organization that is normally not responsible for this. So if you look at the customer life cycle versus the customer education journey, then one way of looking at this is actually just to make a total, straight alignment. So we have the pre-sales, we have the onboarding, and we have the ongoing. And what we are really looking at is that it is very instrumental and operational if we do it this way. You extend your products, you upsell your products as you go along, and you create ambassadors. It is all about value proposition for the different phases that you're looking at. This is what you want to achieve. And this simplifies it a bit, so you will be able to segregate what it is that you want to focus on. So let's look at the next slide. So the value proposition is obviously different for each phase, but here's an overview of what it is that we are trying to look at in terms of value proposition. So for the customer, it's pretty simple. It actually starts with time to value. I have a product, I have a service, as an organization, and I'm purchasing this product or this service for a reason. How do I get to that point where I have a success as quickly as possible? This is in fact what this is all about. So a little bit later, that value proposition will be changing into lifetime value, and I'll become an ambassador of your service, your product, for your company at some point. This is the ambition. Now for the organization, you're also looking at getting the product adoption strengthened. So as I'm doing this, then I will also be able to scale my whole organization. This is about scaling my customer success management so that they are doing the right things. This is about enabling me to onboard new clients repeatedly. And, maybe inside these clients that I already have, then, I will have new contact persons. There will be new hires. There will be other people coming in that need to take over something from the previous persons that was, that were responsible at some point. And this means that what you're looking at is not something it's not a one-off that you're doing. It is something that keeps repeating itself over time. And all of these might actually be all of the values that you have here as an organization. These might actually be in play, all of them, or maybe 80% of these are relevant. If you go to the next slide, then let's get into a little bit more details.
Well, before we go there, I just wanted to say that this idea of build a better customer is a really intriguing way to frame the need for customer education. And when you think about it, it's really not all that similar from corporate learning that's targeting employees, because the goal there is really to build a better employee, or perhaps enable a better employee. So it does make a lot of sense.
So looking at one of these, as let's start with the pre-sales, of course. For me, this is the one that most people, it's scored the lowest, on the sheet individually when you did the poll. But this is actually the one that that is most overlooked. So this is where you as a company actually can already start to use your customer education journey to until this point where they become onboarded as clients. And you will have the chance to look into educating the market as you're setting this one up. You will be able to have a slim process. You will be able to look at providing maybe different types of products that are less dense than when you're doing an onboarding scenario. So as you are doing a pre-sales, then you will be able to, for example, monitor the effect, look at which people are trying, when you're trying to get them in as clients, look at your channels and your leads. You'll be able to monitor these and see when they are, potentially reacting which ones that you can, you need to follow up on, and you'll be able to monitor this as, in the pre-sales phase. And the whole thing is about scale. So I would not be able to do this with my customer success management team because, the warm bodies that I have to throw at this would be enormous. So the scale part here means that I will be able to, take some of those processes that I would normally do manually by following up on, and I can execute these digitally and incorporate this with my SoMe campaigns and so on. So this is not just about doing it from inside an LMS. This is about bringing all these other channels of contact channels together, and then executing this from your LMS and integrating to all sorts of other parts of your ecosystem. So if we skip to the next slide.
Well, so before we move to the next slide, I have a couple of questions here. So first of all, why is it that this is overlooked so much?
I think that people are generally, just thinking about customer education as when I have a customer already bought it, then I will do the onboarding. And they're missing the tight connection that you can have with your key account management and your customer success management team in this one. So, you're missing the opportunity that you can give your clients that flavor of your support that you already have at this point. They can reach out, they can talk to you. You have this, you can already win them over in this phase and turn them into, very, very strong prospects when you are dealing with this in the pre-sales by providing them a trial and so on. But, when many examples, if you find examples out there, they are all concerned about software companies because it is very easy. Like if I'm a SaaS company, and I'm providing a software as a service solution, then I will be, I can easily track this transition between the pre-sales and the onboarding and so on. But it doesn't have to be like this. This is equally relevant if I'm a manufacturer of products. It is, when I need to convince people that my product is the best one to choose, and it doesn't matter if this is, a public contract, if it's a private contract that I'm trying to get, because at this point I will be able to deliver information. I will be able to educate the market. I'll be able to get them a feel of who it is that you will be working with and what we will be supplying to you already at this stage, which makes it easier for me to win the contracts.
Okay. And could you explain a little bit in more detail that your bullet point about personalizing the experience and profiling them?
Yeah. So, your clients will not be the same. It's not like just like when you are doing when I'm making this one, like with the pre-sales, it's a textbook example, but the reality is that your customer journey will probably be a lot more detailed. So, for example, you will have a very detailed, pre-sales and customer journey pre-sales arrangement that you have, you collaborated with, your cross-functional teams with marketing, the campaigns, how you're getting them in, and you are identifying your clients, of course, as individual personas. So you could have technical people, you could have, decision makers. You could have different groups that needs to be fed with different information. And your customer education journey, including the pre-sales, the more you can identify who they are here, the more precise you can target that information specifically to leverage your key USPs. So, you need to be able to break this down, and you can actually do this by looking at, questions. Have you used this product before? Are you looking to solve X, Y, Z? What did you find useful when you did this? When I've served this to you, what didn't you? What can we improve, and so on? So you can become better and better at this. So it's also in this phase. This is not tracking of, your learning. In this phase, it's about learning more about the personas that you are trying to get to be your clients.
Okay. And one more quick question on this one before we move on. So you talk about providing incentives to presumably to help them move from pre-sales to becoming an actual customer. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yes. So for example, at this point, depending on which type of company that you are coming behind this, but you would be able to, for example, get people. I mean, we know this, all of us, even from apps and both in B2B and B2C, when you're signing up to different services, that you provide them with a discount. For example, if you sign up, in the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna give you a 10% discount the first 6 months. So I'm going to give you this coupon, or I'm going to give you this additional asset, or you're gonna be onboarded for free, or you're going to be. So these incentives you can use to push forward, and it depends who you are training, of course, or who you are, who your clients are in this. Which kind of incentives that you would be able to offer them to move on. But incentives actually has a huge effect on signing up new clients.
Great. Okay. So moving on to onboarding, I just want to take a moment to remind our viewers that if you have a question, please type the question into the Q&A box, and we'll take some time at the end of our session today to try to get to them and answer them. Thank you. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, sure. So, after you've done the pre-sales, which some are not doing at all, then, you are kicking in at this point where you're saying, hey, I have got a client, they've signed, now I need to onboard them. They need to know my product. If this is an analyzer that I need to be able to operate in a hospital somewhere, it doesn't have to be a software product, right? It can be anything that I need to do. It could also be I'm a car manufacturer, and I have mechanics that needs to be onboarded in, and they need to be certified. In this case, probably in how to do an engine repair, and I need to know that they have got the necessary skills to serve my product throughout the chain. So I want to use this as an incentive. Coming back to the incentives too, I will be able to do this for my partners, too. I can actually require that from them, so this is one of the things that I can build in. But you of course, you identify whatever, this is what I mean by, when you are looking at your customers and you are identifying them, then going along with this, then you would need to be a little bit more specific now. You have the pre-sales where you would do light information, and you wouldn't want to make this too complicated because you want to achieve the key USPs, super fast. But now I have to start using your products, and this is where I need to look at my time to value. This is the primary thing here. And when I have identified my customers in here, of course, then I will look at personalization. So I could look at, what are the job tasks that they're trying to achieve. I can analyze this. I can ask in my organization and involve people, who can help me identify this. This can come from product specialists. This can come from, some of the original gangsters that have been in there. This can come from a success management team. You can look at support tickets. There's lots of ways that you can get information. But again, this takes you a little bit deeper into it, and you start to personalize this even further. So you will have people who have just started. You're going to provide them with quick, quick wins. So, I will be able to get this time to value from the product really fast, and then I will evolve from there. So that's when we get to the lifetime value. But the onboarding needs to be efficient, just enough so that I can get started with your product, have a success. And once I have this, then I can start to go to the next step. I don't know if you have any questions to this. You're welcome.
Yeah. Could you give us an example of what you mean by time to value, like a real concrete example?
So if I am if I'm a laboratory assistant in a hospital, and I've just been hired. I'm in France somewhere, and we have some products in there that we need to use that have been bought for through arrangements that have been there for years. Now I need to be able to use this rotor or this analyzer that I will be setting up, and I need to be able to do this, and I need to be able to do it fast. Nobody will teach me how to do this, but I will be boarded, as a new person. The company that is behind this probably don't even know that I have been hired. This is, outside of the knowledge that they have. And that means that they would need to be able to decentralize this. And, from that specific hospital, they would be able to board me, or I would be boarded automatically as part of a procedure. And then I will get a quick win because I need to know exactly how to operate, the fundamentals, not necessarily to be an expert in the beginning, but I need to be able to start really, really fast and, get that quick win where I will be able to use the products. And if I can do this, then I've made the first step to turn this person into an ambassador of my product.
Okay, so in that case, the value lies in the fact that the person understands how to use the product.
What it's designed for, and get to that point really quickly.
Okay. And could you explain a little bit more in more detail what you mean by transformational steps?
Yeah, so this is about, you have obviously designed a product to do a particular thing for someone who actually doesn't care about your product at all. They just want to do their job and they want to be good at it. So whatever service or product that you're using, this is what's important to them. So you need to be aware of the transformational steps. What is it that I need to go through step 1, step 2, step 3 to be able to use this product or service? And if you've done like a traditional training by a customer success manager who called you up or went into, let's say, on the location and showed me how to use this product, I would do that in a certain order. There's certain things that I absolutely need to know, and then there are certain things that can wait. So the transformational steps is, those are the ones that will make me, capable of using this product immediately. And those are the ones that you need to identify, because you need to be able to do this with your customer education journey. And this is what gives you, the time to value and product adoption, which is what you're looking for. And then you can extend this a little bit later, but you want a quick product adoption.
Okay, great.
So once you have onboarded people where they are learning the essentials of your product, so you're basically not looking at giving them all the knowledge at once. You are looking at giving them a quick product adoption. Once they have been onboarded, then you will look at how to improve the lifetime value of this. And that means that you will also, in this case, start to, working on your retaining and your nurturing of your customers. Essentially your objective is to create ambassadors. And of course, this is something that takes time. So this is when you will start to be able to measure the result of what it is that you're providing to your clients. This is also when you will be able to take people from a simple introduction training to, a product adoption to a more advanced use of the products. So I get more benefits out of the product. So if you try to do this all at once, you would fail because it would be too much. But if you do it little by, step by step, then you are going to make it possible for them to absorb this and also to be able to use this, appropriately as they become more proficient. And the ongoing is also where you have to realize that, you would be looking at new products. You will be looking at changes to your products. You will be looking at people that are, new people that go back to the onboarding and need to get into the ongoing. So it's a repetitive, process. The ongoing thing is also something where you need to be aware that it's not always mandatory. Customer training does not have to be mandatory. It doesn't even have to have a price on it, but it can have a huge market value for you as an organization. So you probably also want to measure that, looking at it. So the KPIs that you will be looking at in your ongoing, where you will actually be able to start tracking really seriously. This is where we will be looking at meta-level analytics, and you will be able to look at regions, resellers, partners, with the data that you're providing. And with this, you should be able to personalize this even more. So again, I will be able to put some depth into what I'm doing, and I will be able to, because I have, taken them through an entire journey, I'll be able to do pretty good targeting of both new products and updates that I have on my products.
So when you talk about analyzing patterns on a meta level, could you give a concrete example of that?
Yeah. So if I taking it somewhere else, if I was a professional training provider, and I have a specialist service product that I am, going global with, that people are buying from me, for example, in this case, I would want to look at not the individual. I don't want to know what Peter did. I want to look at the engagement of, a group, across a specific state, across a specific reseller. What is the time consumption that they are using? If I'm the organization at the other end, I'm the client who have bought this. If I'm sitting as the management there, I want to know, what the effect is that, and this is the engagement, the time that they have spent, not just the certification, because it doesn't need to have then it doesn't need to be a certification, but I want to know that I've gotten some value for my money too at the other end. And me as an organization, I would want to know if I'm, putting a product into the market, and let's say that, in France, the sales are going really well. The product adoption is going really well. We are looking at, having new products that they are, we have an easy time, getting them on to our clients. But in Germany, it's not going so well. Why is that? So one of the indicators that you have here is that you can start to look at comparison data between the trained cohorts, across regions, countries, specific organizations, specific resellers against others. So you will be able to make this relation between, have I taught them the 20% that they actually need to know about my product in order to be able to sell it appropriately, or whatever that percentage is, like my minimum, to be able to do this, compared to the other one. And if I have this comparison, then I will also be able to start acting on it. And maybe these numbers sometimes will be surprising, so that you can start to investigate and dive into lower level analytics on what is actually going on, which enables you to start to ask more questions. So that means that you can, ask them, if you're looking at, depending on what you're looking at, what would you have liked to learn? What would have given you more value on this one? And I'll be able to, correlate this with data also outside of the system. I mean, the customer training platform that's available, because this is also about sales and, CRM systems and so on that you will be comparing data from.
Right. So you're bringing in data from other systems besides your learning system.
Yes.
So presumably before you're doing this, you've already established what KPIs you're going to be looking at in order to determine success, correct?
Yes. I mean, and some of the KPIs, as I said, it's not as simple as, it's not mandatory. It doesn't have to have a financial transaction. The training can be free if I'm a manufacturer. I'm not interested in selling my training. I'm interested in product adoption. I'm interested in, my net promoter scores, as a company on a company level. But what some are not capable of doing is to make them transactional. So, I would be able to, I would want to be able to look at, specific products, not at a company level, but I would want to have transactional net promoter scores to evaluate, how this product is doing compared to another one, and then why not? And this can again be looked at, at meta level, because I'm interested, this is about clients, this is about an extended enterprise. Even if I'm a small company with global clients, I want to know this, and I want to know this at a level where I can act. I don't care about Peter in this, yes, I can go if I'm creating content and then I can look into the individuals, but I actually want to know the data that impacts my business. This is about business value. And that's where the difference is, when you're looking at customer education, sometimes it's not just a certification process, for example, that you're looking at, right? It could be like, in the example with the car manufacturer, and I need to have certification, maybe not on everything, but on certain products and services. Mm-hmm. But it's about business impact. And this is what you want to analyze and move. You have no chance of having a customer, if you're looking at scale, a customer success management team, scale alongside, thousands. It's not just, hundreds of clients now. It's not thousands. It could be tens of thousands. It could be 100,000, customers that you're looking at. So how are you going to be scaling this? You need customer education, and you need to be able to make a journey where you break those boundaries. So for example, in the ongoing that we have here, I want to know when I can engage or when I should engage my customer success manager. So these indicators could, be that, at a certain point, some of my tracking allows me to say, this is probably the time when I need to involve a customer success person towards this client, because there are certain indicators. This can be done at every level. And when you're doing this, then, your chances of retention, your chances of, keeping, moving them towards this, becoming an ambassador, and catching them before, they churn. This is some of the things that you will be able to do here and just keep improving.
Great. Let me just probe a little bit deeper on lifetime value. Could you, again, share an example of that so it's a sort of a little clearer? I mean, I get the sense it's about a customer who's not just bought once, but is buying multiple products or is some way advocating for the company. But, how do you actually start to measure that?
Yeah, so when you're doing like, if you look at the onboarding, the previous step, you don't need to go there. Just, if you look at the onboarding step, then, at this point, I will have an initial experience. So this is my customer, experience that I'm generating here for the first time, perhaps. And at this point, it is just, the initial time to value for a product that I'm getting, or a service. But at this point, I haven't worked with you for 2 years. I haven't used your products for 2 years. And at this point, I'm not going to buy your next product, or your enhanced product, or, exchange it with something else. But when you are able to go into when you are in the ongoing, then you have a long-term relationship. And this is the only place where you can really start talking about creating ambassadors, which means, this means that, I would, like I said, I would build out having, a better usage of my products, not just the initial ones, but I will be building out, the extended use of what it is that I'm setting up. I would have, more information about the personas, because I'm collecting data, which means I can target it even more precisely. So the lifetime value here is also about, picking up data that enables you to improve that experience and improve your products also over time, they feel that they are listened to, they should be listened to, right? And that, they're getting that feedback back. So this can be, across any type of, experience and product that you want to provide.
Okay, so lifetime value is not necessarily a number. It's sort of a collection of data points that indicate if someone is essentially a repeat customer or a sticky customer, as it were, that is
Sure.
using things more than once, right?
Yes, and the willingness that I want to buy your next product or the next service. This could be a training product, of course, if I'm a training provider, but it could also be, as it is most likely, an addition, upselling, something for some of the products that I'm using because I'm happy with them.
Okay. So yeah, this next slide really shows the whole thing all together.
Yes, it does, because basically, what we just set up was, a super simple funnel. But the reality is that this is actually an iterative process. So first of all, the initiation is you would obviously create your company KPIs for this. When you're starting up a project, so to say, a customer education project, then you need to define these journeys. That starts by you need to identify those KPIs. This is like, what do I want to achieve? Is it I want to create ambassadors. What is the pain that I have, when I'm starting out? And as part of this, you need to identify who is the owner, and owners, I would say in this case, because it's not the academy. They could play a part in producing some of the learning products, but marketing and services, professional services probably have, a much bigger stake in this than the academy, for example, would have. So it's a different kind of ownership that you're looking for, and it's a different kind of set of business goals. And you don't want to create too many of these in the beginning. You want to grow them. But once you have identified this, then you will be looking at something that's starting to be repetitive. So you will have the customer goals, which means I would have this personification of the customers. I will know who they are. I will be able to look at different value propositions for my products and services depending on who I am. So this is where you have personas. Once you have defined these personas and you know what the transformational steps are, like what would make that difference for me when I'm adopting the product, then I will be able to design my learning journey, for the different parts. And these journeys are not the same when you are doing pre-sales and onboarding and ongoing. They will extend themselves. They will be different. Maybe in the beginning, you only have one, when you're starting out. But later, you will break them up to different parts because you don't need the same type of information. And it's not necessarily the same personas you're dealing with in the different phases. So basically, if you're just looking at it from a very, very top level, like, helicopter perspective, then you would have three. You would have pre-sales, you will have onboarding, and you will have your ongoing. And these will have individual products inside. That means you will define those learning products that will get me to get that, product adoption really fast, time to value for whatever service or product that I have. I will develop those products, and I will obviously review these, maybe have a POC, I will have feedback, and I will send them out in release 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I will keep doing this, and I will also add new products as I learn, measure, track, come back, and I will do it for every level. And when I do this, then I'm guaranteed to have a success, because you might fail the first time or you might not achieve your goals, but then you will figure out that, your product adoption or, why didn't this tick? Then you will ask these questions and you will, gradually build up knowledge. So this takes time, but you will gradually build up knowledge. So you will revise your products, you will revise your onboarding, you will get better and better at it. And this is the other thing, this is the quality that will increase over time.
Okay, so a point of clarification, when you say academy, I assume you're talking about the learning function of an organization. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes. So when I
Okay.
mentioned academy before, then it's, they are typically the ones who have experience in creating learning products. So if you have an academy, you might want to utilize their skills in creating your customer education journey too. But traditionally, they don't own it. It's not driven from the academy. Sometimes it is, and if the academy drives it, it's because they are like on a higher level, in your hierarchy, so that it's like a staff function that's not just under with your employees or anything like this. It has a different position in your organization.
Okay.
Because otherwise they can't own it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And just so I'm clear, you're saying that the learning journey is really different for each of the three phases, and then is actually always sort of sharpening itself as you reiterate, and you may have multiple for lack of a better word, multiple learning pathways or content for different, even inside of a single phase. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah. So yes. But if we just keep it simple, then we will have, for example, if we just, look at the customer life cycle. And again, this textbook example that I gave you, the customer life cycle could be infinitely granular, with a company who've been working on it for years and have, optimized it. That means that you would be able to, pinpoint specific places where it would have more effect, inside this customer journey. And the journey will then be, likewise split into different sections. So for me, just, and here, a pre-sales and onboarding and ongoing is the nice way to look at it and compare that to the life cycle of the client, because they will be different. As I said, when you're onboarding a client, then they already have chosen you. In the pre-sales, you are convincing them, you're educating the market, you're telling them that you are the right partner, you're giving them this experience at the right point, and you can facilitate and accelerate your customer success management during this whole scenario. But when you're onboarding, they have chosen you. You have a different proposition, a value proposition that you would be setting up here, because now they start to use your product. You're not selling it anymore. You're using the product. And then when you are going to, and you need to just, onboard them very fast to get that time to value for them. But then when you are in the ongoing phase, then you are actually, you're actually also selling new products to them. At this point, then you will start, to elevate this again. But it's three different phases that you're looking at. And the products that you will be delivering to them are also different.
Great, thank you. So let's talk about impact.
Yeah, so, very shortly on this one, there are so many different, educational models out there. And this is a very traditional way of looking at it, where you are starting with engagement and you have some results at the end. It's a really healthy way to look at it too, because it gives you the different elements where you're moving from, just counting people, visitors, new versus returning, as you're seeing in here. These are simple numbers that you can calculate based on logins and so on, who has been invited, who has accepted, who have signed up, and so on. But then you're getting to, behavioral change. So how do I, when I'm getting lower down, on this one, in step number 4, then you will be able to look at how are they actually, adopting the product. And again, if it was a SaaS company delivering a software solution, then it's easy to look at, product adoption, because that could be, triggered by specific features and so on that you would have. But if it's, a physical product that's out there, it would be other triggers that you would need to, to prove your product adoption. That could be, you have less you have less support requests about a certain thing. So when you've analyzed this, then you would be able to you see a drop after you have provided an updated training, for example, about how to do a certain thing, because you're seeing the people are doing this. This is a very simple example, but it could also be an increased, let's say that I'm going back to the example that I had with with the hospitals. Let's say that I'm buying more cartridges, or fluid, or if you have a printer, once I start using it, then I'm buying more ink. My product adoption can show in various ways. And if I'm not selling my training, the product adoption would mean that I'm selling products, that come with it. And then I'll be able to measure this, coming out of the better trained cohorts that I would have. So again, it's based on you want to be looking at meta level analytics.
Okay.
And then when you see something strange, you want to dive down. So you want to be able to correlate data on a high level across all your different channels, resellers, markets, departments, anything that goes here, not the individual.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you, Nick. In the next few slides, we're just going to talk about some of the common challenges regarding customer education programs that you've come across and that Brandon Hall has found in our research. Chief among them is being able to effectively measure the impact of customer learning. But before we go into that, let's do our last poll. So if we can ask everybody, we'd like to know who manages customer education in your organization. So please take a moment to select. You can choose from learning and development, the customer success group, sales, marketing, business units, or of course, other. And while we're waiting for our results to come in, I just want to remind everyone that if you do have questions, please type them into the Q&A box so that we can get to them at the end of our session today. All right, Alexa, if you think we've had enough people putting information in, let's see what we got. Okay, so learning and development came in at 33%. Sales came in at 42%. Marketing had a 8%, business units had 8%, and none of the above had 8%. So that's kind of interesting. And the reason that's interesting, you'll notice that there's really no one, sales certainly has the biggest chunk, but they're not even over 50%, and learning development is only about a third. So what we're seeing, if we can lose the poll results, that really ties in with some of the research that we've done, Nick. When we asked companies what were the most prevalent challenges around extended enterprise learning, not necessarily customer education, organizational silos came up as number one. And that's because, it's, as you mentioned, it's often unclear who may own the external audience. Typically, L&D or the academy, as you put it, has the learning expertise, and they'll have the technology. They usually own the technology, but they may not own the audience or the relationship to the audience. And that's often a source of friction or inefficiencies. One thing I've seen in organizations is that because the L&D group is just not really attuned to the customer education or to extended enterprise learning, another part of the organization may actually go out and buy their own LMS. Is that something that you've also seen in your experience?
Yes, actually, this happens quite frequently, that you have a two-phased approach, and this is also because they don't want to get stuck in the mud with the internals, because it's different. It's also a different system typically. From a technical perspective, it's not the same feature set that you're looking for. The L&D that would be, focused here, maybe even very heavily on skills, and competency matrices, they don't have the same focus, but they don't also have the business affinity that is needed from a technical solution. You are dealing with business arrangements that have been made. You are dealing with anything from paid content, subscriptions, none of the above that I just mentioned, but you would still have some sort of agreements with those, and you would also be integrating into some of their systems to get clients and users. So it's a completely different set of technical capabilities that you want to have.
Yeah. Okay. So this next slide is really what the challenges by companies who specifically do customer-specific extended enterprise learning, and what they're telling us, or what they told us. Again, this was from late last year. 65% said they had difficulty in measuring the effectiveness of their customer education program, and 48% said they had difficulties around content development, and 40%, as you just mentioned, Nick, said they didn't have the right technology. So I guess
those are actually quite closely tied, the three top ones, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have the right technology, you will not be able to measure effectiveness. This could, of course, also be because you have started off on the wrong foot. That you can't measure the effectiveness because you haven't defined your KPIs. Maybe you didn't have the right approach for this, but they're closely tied, because if you have the wrong technology, you won't be able to do this, because it's meant, it's designed for a different purpose. And if you're looking at the content development part, aside from the fact that if it's let's say that it's owned by sales, like the 40-some% that were in the poll, you need to have a different approach to content development when you are talking about an external training. You are changing your content much more frequently. You are developing your products. You need to have a different set of skills when you are producing this, and you need a system that will enable you to single source your content to different markets, have content translation, that needs to be happening very efficiently, so that you can quickly update anything towards the market that you have whenever you have a product innovation or a new service. And you need to be able to push this out immediately, probably without going through that keyhole, which could be the L&D. So you want to engage different parts of your organization to be able to do this.
So let me follow up on that. I can see if you're delivering content, multiple languages, multiple locations, and you're rapidly developing things, you have to worry about versioning things as products develop or new versions of products come out. That can really be a logistical challenge. I know Eurekos has some sort of specialized capability around content management, and about, I think, even doing translation. Can you give us a little more detail on that?
Yeah, I can. Of course, it's important that you have an effective, and really slick content, creation, a native authoring tool that enables you to do this fast and get these, content items out. But you need this to be single sourced, which means that this has to be, assets that can be reused and updated instantly, so that you don't have to redo entire course sessions and everything each time you want to make a change. So your processes need to be built into this, so that they are really efficient and really effective. Secondly, because we own the authoring tool, as part of the product, we are also able to take charge of the translation, and the localization to the different markets, which means that we can automate a lot of these things and also use AI to deliver this and serve interfaces in multiple languages, more than 100. So, we have clients that are in more than 200 countries, and they're delivering, things in, their products and so on from China to the US, over Mongolia, South Korea, all over Europe. So you need to be able to do this, even have right to left languages. So the whole localization piece is just huge. And this is also with multiple currencies and other things that you would expect to have.
Right. Well, I didn't see any questions from the audience, and we are up against the hour at this point. So at this point, thank you again, Nick, for spending time with us. I thought it was a great conversation, and I'm really glad we had the opportunity to share it with everyone who attended today's webinar. Thank you again to Eurekos for sponsoring the webinar and providing us this hour of time. And everyone who's watching or registered, you will get an email shortly, which will include a link to the webinar and a PDF containing all the slides. Thank you again for viewing. A special thank you to Alexa, who does an incredible amount of work behind the scenes. And with that, let me say goodbye and thanks to everyone one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for having us. And I hope you got some feedback that you could use, everybody who's attending.